بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. We continue going over the tremendous advice directed towards the Muslim women that was given by the Fadilat al-Shaykh al-Allama Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan حفظه ta'ala. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and live with them in good. And live with them in good and honorably. وقال تعالى, and Allah ta'ala, He says, فَإِمْسَاكُمْ بِمَعْرُوفِ أَوْ تَصْرِيحٌ بِإِحْسَانٍ. So retain her upon reasonable and good terms, retain her in goodness, or release her in kindness. Al-Allama Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan حفظه ta'ala, he says, فَعَلَاقَةُ الرِّجَالِ أو فَعَلَاقَةُ الرَّجُلِ بِالْمَرْأَةِ علاقة وطيدة. يجب أن تكون هذه العلاقة مبنية على ما شرعه الله سبحانه وتعالى. He says, so thus the connection with the woman, a man's connection to a woman, then it is a strong connection. It is a connection that is firm and one that is strong. Therefore, it is incumbent that this connection be one that is built upon that which Allah has legislated. And this is in all aspects of that connection and that relationship. And as mentioned in previous gatherings, that which is intended by the connection, or a man's connection with the woman, meaning what? In marriage. In marriage. So the whole of their relationship should be in compliance to that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. So therefore, from the very beginning, there will only be a connection by way of halal means. There will only be a relationship that is halal. So for a man and a woman to have a relationship and to have a connection, then that connection and that relationship could only be in the bounds of marriage. Could only be in the institution of marriage. And even within that institution of marriage, all of their dealings with one another, the whole of their relationship, it should be built on that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. That which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. The Shaykh hafidhahullah ta'ala, he goes on and he says, ويجب أن تكون هذه العلاقة مبنية على ما شرعه الله سبحانه وتعالى من العشرة الطيبة ورعاية الكريمة ومعاملة الحسنة، وكذلك من ناحية المتعة الزوجية بأن تكون وفق ما أباحه الله سبحانه وتعالى. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى نساؤكم حرث لكم فأتوا حرثكم أن شئتم وقدموا لأنفسكم واتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم ملاقوه وبشر المؤمنين. Sheikh Fawzan, he says, so it is a must, it is incumbent that this connection between the man and the woman, between the husband and the wife, then it is built upon that which Allah has legislated. It is built upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. From living with her honorably, from cohabitating and living with her honorably, and thus her living with him honorably, that they live with one another in an honorable situation and honorably. Also, as relates to the noble guardianship, and as relates to the way in which they interact with one another, they should interact with one another in a most beautiful and excellent of manners. They should interact and deal with one another in a beautiful way. So their mutual dealings one to another should be in a good way, and hasana, should be in a good manner, in a good way. The Shaykh Hamdallah Ta'ala, he says, even from the standpoint of intimacy, even from the standpoint of the marital enjoyments, meaning intimacy, that this tool has to be built upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. So the Shaykh, he says, so even the enjoyment of marriage or the marital bliss and intimacy, then it must be in compliance to that which Allah has made permissible. It must be in compliance to that which Allah has made permissible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions inside of His noble book, نِسَاؤُكُمْ حَرُثٌ لَكُمْ فَأْتُوا حَرُثَكُمْ أَنَّا شِئْتُمْ, that your wives, they are a tilth for you. So go to your tilth when or how you will. So go to your tilth when and how you will. نِسَاؤُكُمْ حَرُثٌ لَكُمْ فَأْتُوا حَرُثَكُمْ أَنَّا شِئْتُمْ, that your wives, they are a tilth for you. So go unto your tilth how and when you will, meaning how and when you will, in a halal manner. In a halal manner. على كل حال, the Shaykh, he mentions that even in the marital enjoyment, meaning the intimacy between the husband and between the wife, it must be built upon that which Allah has made permissible. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, نِسَاؤُكُمْ حَرْثٌ لَكُمْ فَأْتُوا حَرْثَكُمْ أَنَّا شِئْتُمْ, that your wives, they are a tilth for you. So go to your tilth when, meaning during those prescribed times that it is permissible to do such. Now, when it is permissible to do such. So go to them when and how you please. Meaning, you go to them in a manner that is permissible. You go to them in a manner that is permissible. Now, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also says here in this ayah, وَقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ, and to put forth good deeds for yourself. To put forth good deeds for yourself. Na'am. Because as it comes in the authentic hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wherein he informs us that the individual, when he fulfills his desires in a halal manner, then he is rewarded. This is a good deed. This is a good deed. And he is rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for doing such. Na'am. So it is a reminder to us that even in this aspect of intimacy, we have guidance from the Kitab and guidance from the Sunnah. So thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has made it clear to us the time in which it is permissible to go unto our wives, and the time that we are to avoid such intimacy, meaning when they are on their menstruation, postpartum bleeding, then we are to avoid intercourse at these times. It's not permissible in these times. And the manner in which is permissible has been fully explained. So we have to go in a permissible manner. And anything or the way in which is not permissible, then it is not permissible, and we are to avoid it. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says also in this ayah, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, and fear Allah, and fear Allah, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ مُلَاقُوهُ, and know that you're going to meet Him. Know that you're going to meet Him, meaning you're going to meet Allah Azza wa Jal. So fear Allah in all aspects of your relationship with your wives. Fear Allah, O sisters, in all aspects of the relationship with your husbands. Even when it comes down to intimacy, fear Allah, because verily you will meet Allah. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and give glad tidings to the believers. Give glad tidings to the believers. نعم. قال الشيخ فوزان حفظه الله تعالى فمن هنا تظهر لنا أهمية هذه المرأة في المجتمع. He says, so thus we again are able to see the importance of the women inside of the society. We're able to see the importance of the woman inside of the society. Naam. Because we are to live and cohabit with the women in a good manner. The guardianship and the concern should be one that is noble. We should interact and deal with them in the most excellent of manners. That society that is built up of men and women, that society that is built up of men and women, then it must be one where the men and the women, they come together with the connection of Islam, the connection of the Sharia, meaning they come together in the relationship of marriage, and that marriage is built upon good and built upon that which Allah has legislated. That is built upon that which Allah has legislated, because what Allah has legislated, then it is good in every which way, shape, and form. And that all of our interactions are built upon that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated and made permissible. When an individual reflects on the totality of the woman's involvement in life, in the success of life in this world, then she will understand the importance of the woman inside of the society. And on the flip side, if these things are not maintained, and if these things are not preserved, and if there are infringements and the likes of these things, then the dangers and the harm and the destruction that comes from the neglect of these affairs, then we know it is tremendous. So therefore we see, or we can better understand and better appreciate the importance of the woman inside of the society. The importance of the woman inside of the society. There will be no society if it's all men. There will be no society like that. Likewise, there will be no society if it's all women. There will be no society like that. The Shaykh, he says, فإن المرأة قرينة الرجل وشريكته. He says, because verily the woman, she is the twin of the man. She's the twin of the man. وشريكته, and she is his associate. She is his partner. You see, the woman, she is the companion and the partner of the man. You understand? There will be no society without men and women. There will be no society without men and women. And this is how it has been. منذ متى? Since when? The Shaykh, he says, منذ أن خلق الله الإنسان الأول وهو آدم عليه الصلاة والسلام خلق له المرأة وكذلك لا تزال سنة الله عز وجل كما هي إلى أن تقوم الساعة سنة الله التي قد خلت من قبل ولن تجد لسنة الله تبديلا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has made it the way that there are men and women, and men and women, they make up the society. From when? The Shaykh, he says, from the time, or from when Allah created the first human being, and it was Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah created for him his wife Hawa. Allah created for him his wife Naam. And thus وَكَذَلِكَ لَا تَزَالُ سُنَّةُ اللَّهِ, and likewise the sunnah of Allah, it is like this and it is consistent. It has not changed. Just like it will not change until the day of judgment, until the establishment of the hour. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-Fath, in His verse 23, and inshallah ta'ala, this also is for homework. And before that, the ayah, Nisa'ukum harthun lakum, that your wives, they are your tilth, to the end of the ayah, then that can be found in Surah Baqarah, verse 223. Homework. Surah Al-Baqarah 223, and Surah Al-Fatih verse 23. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Sunnat Allah allati qad khalat min qabl. This is the sunnah of Allah. This is Allah's way. This is Allah's way. With regards to that which has passed, this was Allah's way of old, was that societies were built of men and women, Naam, who came together in marriage, who through and in that bounds of marriage had children. And thus generations became, gave way to other generations, to following generations, and so on and so forth. You understand? This was Allah's way when it came to the people of old in antiquity. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا, and you won't find any change to Allah's sunnah. You won't find any change to Allah's sunnah. Hey now. This is the sunnah of Allah, that a man and a woman come together in marriage. But you find the nasty, despicable, and corrupt individuals from our time, and those who are around before our time, who met their end, who were gone, who left nothing for generations to follow them. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ. عَلَى كُلِّ حَالٍ, you'll find the ones in our time They want to try to alter and change the narrative. They want us to believe in this understanding of a modern family. That a modern family is not restricted to just the traditional family. When they say traditional family, they mean a family that is comprised of a mother and a father. A mother and a father who have children. They want to come and say no, they want to challenge this, like they want to challenge marriage and say no, marriage is not the union between a man and a woman, but marriage could take on a broader aspect. It can take on a broader aspect. It can take on more variations. So with them, they're saying that the marriage can be between a man and a man, or the marriage can be between a woman and a woman, or that the family can be made up of a father and children, or it can be made up of a mother and children. Wa'iyadu billah. These individuals, and they try to bring this to us and saying that this is what it means to be modern, this is what it means to be civilized, this is what it means to be tolerant, and so on and so forth. And we don't tolerate this. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Sunnat Allah allati qad khalat min qabl. This is the sunnah of Allah that was like that in the old times. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You won't find Allah's sunnah changing. You won't find Allah's sunnah changing. So despite what these evil individuals, they want to try to force down the throats of society, because these individuals in reality, they're the ones who are not tolerant. They're the ones who don't tolerate other people's disapproval of their lifestyle. They're the ones who do not tolerate other people's disapproval of their lifestyle and their viewing of their lifestyle as being despicable, because this is what it is. They don't tolerate that. They want to force us into submission to agree to their way of life. And anything that is less than that, then it is deemed to be intolerant, it is deemed to be homophobic, or to the like of it, or to the end of that in which they say. But you know they can keep what they say. Because the reality of it is that you have never found a society that was built of all women. Nor have you ever found a society that was built of all men. Why? Because the person with the weakest of intellects will know such a society will only last for one generation. As soon as all of those men are dead, that's it. As soon as all those women are dead, that's it. So the like of this understanding is an understanding that in actuality is anti-human. It is against humanity. Because if this understanding were to take hold and everybody were to take hold and take up to the practicing of it, the human beings will be extinct. Human beings, they will be gone. There will be no more human beings upon the earth within a century. All human beings will be gone. When the last one died, that's it. So how can such a concept, how can such a construction be good? How can such a construction be good when it's a construction that if it was applied upon the great masses of the people would lead to the extinction of the human beings? How can that be good? How? When there are individuals who put in protocols to commit genocide on a particular people, we say that's a war crime, that's wrong. How you going to do that? And it's wrong, no doubt. It's a war crime, no doubt. No one's going to argue that point. It's bad, it's wrong. But how can that be wrong, but yet other protocols that threaten human beings as a species is supposed to be tolerated? Now see, that don't make sense. You understand? That don't make sense. So just like genocide on a particular people is wrong, that which can lead to the extinction of humanity as a whole, extinction of the human beings, then of course this is the most wrong in this topic. Allah's sunnah is that what? The society is comprised of the men and the women. The men and the women. The woman, she is the partner of the man. She is the associate of the man. They go together. Qarinatul rajul. She is the one that's with the man. They stick together. This is Allah's sunnah. This is how societies are built. This is how children. This is the protocols by way in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He has put for human beings to have children. And no matter what these despicable people they will do, we know on a biological level they will never be able to accomplish this. A man and a man can have children. They cannot have children. Can't have children. A woman and a woman, they can't have children. And then the fools, they come and they say, oh, but we can adopt. Yes, you're adopting what? You're adopting a child that came from what? A man and a woman. Not a woman and a woman. Not a man and a man. So they can play games, they can play semantics and so on and so forth. But the reality of it is that they can't have children. These despicable individuals, وَإِلَى الْحَمْدِ. عَلَى كُلِّ حَالٍ. The Shaykh Abdullah Ta'ala, he goes on, and this is just another understanding before mentioning and going on, another understanding, another wisdom, so we understand the Islamic stance against homosexuality, how it's not that which is tolerated, it's not that which is allowed in the deen. Remember that all of our connections, all of our relationships, all of our lives have to be built upon that which Allah has legislated, has to be built upon that which Allah has made permissible. And whatever evil person would like that to be different, it doesn't change the reality. It's like an individual who he wants ice to be hot and he wants fire to be cold. No matter how much he wants it, doesn't change the reality. It is what it is. Fire is hot, ice is cold. You understand? So despite what these individuals they may want from their crooked, their twisted desires, despite what they may want from their crooked and twisted, because their fitrah has been corrupted and has been twisted and that they are morally bankrupt, despite what they may want, doesn't change the reality. Doesn't change the reality. Doesn't change anything. على كل حال, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Shaykh was on to say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أوجب على الرجل طاعته. Allah has made it mandatory upon the man to obey Him. وَعِبَادَتُهُ, and to worship Him. وَأَوْجَبَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ كَذَلِكَ طَاعَتَهُ وَعِبَادَتَهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. And likewise Allah has made it obligatory upon the woman to obey Him and to worship Him alone, without any partners. Allah has made this binding upon the men and binding upon the women. There's no difference in that affair. There's no difference in that affair. وَوَعَدَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ وَوَعَدَ الْمُحْسِنِ مِنْ صِنْفَيْنِ بِالْأَجَرِ الْجَزِيلِ. And Allah has promised the one who does good, the good doer, from both. Meaning, those men who do good and those women who do good. Those women who do good and those men who do good. Allah has promised both of them a tremendous reward. A tremendous reward. وَتَوَعَّدَ الْمُصِيبِ مِنْ صُنْفَيْنِ بِالْأَعْذَابِ وَالْعُقُوبَةِ. And Allah has threatened and Allah has made a truthful promise that will be fulfilled for those who do bad, for the wrongdoer, the evildoer, from both types, be it a man or a woman, be it a woman or a man. That the wrongdoer, whether man or woman, then they are threatened with punishment. And they are threatened with chastisement. فالرجل والمرأة سواء من ناحية التكاليف الشرعية في الجملة. The Shaykh, he says, so that the men and the women, they are the same as relates to the legislative responsibilities in general. In general, as relates to the legislative responsibilities, the men and the women, they are the same. وإن كانت مرأة قد تخص بالأشياء دون الرجال من التكاليف الشرعية. The Shaykh, he says, and in general, the men and the women, they have the same responsibilities. He said, and this is although there are certain things that are particular to the women. There are certain responsibilities that are particular to the women that are not upon the men. Right? And then likewise, there's certain things that are upon the men that are not upon the women. For example, jihad. The military jihad. I'm not speaking about the jihad against one's soul. No, the jihad against one's nafs, the jihad against the soul, that's for everybody, men and women. But the military jihad, the armed conflict, this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon who? The men, not the women. It's placed upon the men, not the women. Now, and there's certain affairs that are particular to women, like those affairs that are linked to things that are particular to them, meaning like their menses, postpartum bleeding, so on and so forth. There's certain things that are particular to them, and thus there are rulings that go along with that. Now, and it's not upon the men. Why? Because we don't have these situations. Okay, but outside of those few things that are particular to each, the vast majority of all of the responsibilities, then it is upon what? Both of them equally, the same. It's upon both of them, yani the same matter. That's what we mean by equal, the same. Because in reality, and this is just so there's no discrepancy or misunderstanding, in Islam there is what? There is justice. There is justice, not equality. The concept of equality is not valid, either in understanding nor application. It's not valid. This is a concept that is from the tricks of shaitan. But the reality of it is that a society will never be successful if they call to equality, because equality will necessitate injustice. Necessitate injustice, because you will have to put things in the wrong place. But Islam, it calls to justice, that everything is put in its proper place. It calls to justice, that everything is put in its proper place. Let me give you an example, just so no one is left to wonder, to think what is intended. Would it be fair and just that we treat the one who suffers from a mental retardation like we treat the one who is sound in intellect as relates to crime and punishment? Would that be just? Would that be just? That we penalize the one who does not have a sound intellect like we would penalize the one who has a sound intellect? Would that be just? And of course we'll come and we'll say, well, no, it won't be just. We can't treat them both exactly the same. Okay, so then there's no equality in that regard. Because if there was equality in that regard, we would treat them both exactly the same, which will necessitate what? Injustice. This is why Islam doesn't call for equality. It calls for justice, that everyone is treated in a just manner. So this is just another example to show you the superiority of Islam, and to show you the inferiority and the complete contradictory manner of those un-Islamic systems. When it comes to the rules and regulations, for the most part, the men and the women, they are the same. ولكن في جملة, the Shaykh says, في جملة الرجل والمرأة سواء في عبادة, that the man and the woman, they are the same in ibadah. في طاعة الله, as relates to obeying Allah, they are the same. They both have to obey Allah. وفي الثواب, they both the same in reward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't reward the women in a manner that He don't reward the men, nor does He reward the men in a manner that He reward the women. They both get rewarded with a outstanding and good reward. Now, the reward for the good doers is Jannah. It's not a part in Jannah for men and a part in Jannah for women. Yeah, the men and women will be inside of the Jannah. Alhamdulillah. وَكَذَلِكَ فِي الْعِقَابِ, likewise in punishment. They're both punished. If they do evil, they do bad, they commit disbelief, they be disbelievers, polytheists, so on and so forth, then what? Then waiting for them is the hellfire, whether they man or women. Waiting for them is the hellfire. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. نعم. قال تعالى, Allah Ta'ala, He says, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ. So their Lord answered their supplication. Their Lord answered their supplication. Na'am. Saying, أني لا أضيع عمل عامل منكم من ذكر أو أنثى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he responded by saying, never shall I allow the deeds of any of you to be lost, be they man or woman, be they male or female. Be they male or female. I will never allow the deeds of any of you to be lost, whether they are a man or a woman, a male or female, will not be lost. Na'am. Ba'dukum min ba'd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, you are from one another. Meaning the men and the women, what? You from one another. You are together. You're one. فَالَّذِي هَاجَرُوا وَأُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأُوذُوا فِي سَبِيلِي وَقَاتَلُوا وَقُتِلُوا لَأُكَفِّرَنَّ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَلَأُدْخِلَنَّهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ. So thus the one who he has migrated and were driven out of their homes, those who migrated, those who made hijrah, and they were driven out of their homes, and those who were harmed in my cause, those who were harmed in my cause, those who were harmed only because they was Muslims and they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were harmed in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be they male or female. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says those who fought and those who were killed, verily Allah will expiate from them their evil deeds. Allah will expiate from them, be they men or women, men and women. Allah will expiate for them their evil deeds and admit them into gardens under which rivers flow. And admit them into gardens under which rivers flow. In this ayah, it can be found in Surah Ali Imran, in its verse 195. It can be found in Surah Ali Imran, in its verse 195. This also is for homework. So as to recap, for the homework, it would be Surah Baqarah 223, Surah Al-Fath verse 23, and now Surah Ali Imran verse 195. طيب. على كل حال, the Shaykh goes on to further explain how the men and the women, they are dealt with in the same manner. They're dealt with in the same manner. They'll be rewarded. Those who do good from amongst them, and they will be punished. Those who do evil from amongst them. The Shaykh Yuzani says, فَالرِّجَالِ, so the men, you have from the men, mu'minun wa muslimun. You have from the men, believing men and Muslim men. وَمِنَ النِّسَاءِ, and from the women, we have mu'minat wa muslimat. And from the women, we have believing women and Muslim women. وَمِنَ الرِّجَالِ, from the men, we have muhajirun. From the men, we have those who have migrated for the sake of Allah. وَمِنَ النِّسَاءِ, and from the women, we have muhajirat. We have those women who have migrated for the sake of Allah. وَهُمْ فِي الْأَجْرِ سَوَاء فِي ذَلِكَ, and they are the same in reward. They are the same in reward as relates to that. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. This also is for homework. This is from Surah Al-Nahl, in this verse 97. Surah An-Nahl, verse 97. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says what means, and whoever does good from males or females, whoever does good from the males and the females, and they are believers, they are those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are those who are Muslim. Naam, they are those who are Muslim. But as the ulama, they explain and they mention that every good deed, in order for it to be accepted, it must be preceded by the shahadateen. It must be preceded, in other words, it must be preceded by a person being Muslim, and then has to be in compliance to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in order for it to be accepted. If one or both of those are missing, then it's not accepted. Now, so whoever does good from the males and the female, who? Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that we shall give unto them a good life. Naam. We shall give unto them a good life. Good life comes from what? From being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for the man and the woman, if they are obedient and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then for them what will be a good life? Not just a good life in this world, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ, and then we shall reward them. We shall reward them. What kind of reward? We shall reward them أَجْرَهُمْ. We shall reward them their reward. We will pay them in full for what they have done. We will give them a reward. A reward according to the proportion of what? You understand? A reward according to the proportion of what? It's not a reward of averages. You understand what I'm saying? Because see, with the average, what you do, you take a person's high score and you take what? They low score, and then you come up with an average, and then they get rewarded according to whatever that average is. You understand? So the average is going to be what? It's going to be above their worst, but less than their best. You understand? That's like what? Grading on a curve. You understand? It's going to be more than the worst, but less than the best. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does not reward the believers like that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that He shall reward them what? بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. He shall reward them in proportion to the best of what they used to do. You understand? The best deed that a believing man he does, the best deed that the believing woman she does, their reward will be in proportion of such. Won't be in proportion to when they, when they didn't do that well, but it will be in proportion to what? To the best of what they used to do. Right? This is a reward that none of us can afford to want to pass upon, and none of us can afford to lose that. No one with his right mind would want to jeopardize that or to lose out on that, or to not be qualified from receiving that. You understand? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, claiming any type of ambiguities as relates to how the men and the women they are equal in how they will be rewarded. They'll be rewarded in the exact same way. You understand? Those of them who do good, they'll be rewarded in the exact same way. And obviously on the flip side, they'll be punished. Those of them who do bad, in the same way. They'll be punished with the hellfire. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. But so as to show that there's no discrepancy between that which is waiting for the good doers, be they male or females, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this tool is for homework. This is Surah Al-Ahzab, and this is verse 35. And I realize the homework this week is a lot more than last week, or the week before last week. But we had off last week, so this makes up for it, inshallah ta'ala. We had off last week, so this makes up for it. And the week before that, the homework was very light. So inshallah ta'ala, and it just keeps us busy with good. It keeps us busy with good. But this ayah here from Surah Al-Ahzab, this is ayah, all the ayat are beautiful, but this is an ayah that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, when we tackle this homework, we can utilize it inside of our prayers. We can utilize it inside of our prayers, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah? And those who want to do a couple ayat after it or before, yeah, that's good too. That's good too, alhamdulillah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ وَالْقَانِتِينَ وَالْقَانِتَاتِ وَالصَّادِقِينَ وَالصَّادِقَاتِ وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَالصَّابِرَاتِ وَالْخَاشِعِينَ وَالْخَاشِعَاتِ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقَاتِ وَالصَّائِمِينَ وَالصَّائِمَاتِ وَالْحَافِظِينَ فُرُوجَهُمْ وَالْحَافِظَاتِ وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says what means, and verily those Muslim men and Muslim women, those believing men and those believing women, those obedient men and those obedient women, those honest men, those truthful men and those truthful women, those patient men and those patient women, those humble men and those humble women, those men who give sadaqah and those women who give sadaqah, those men who give charity and those women who give charity, for the men and women who give charity, for those men who fast and for those women who fast, for those who preserve their private parts from the men and from the women, those who remember Allah much from the men and from the women. Allah has prepared for them, Allah has prepared for them forgiveness and a great reward. Forgiveness and a great reward. فقال الشيخ فوزان حفظه الله تعالى فوعد الله سبحانه وتعالى كلا من الجنسين الذكور والإناث وعدهم المغفرة وأجر العظيم على هذه الصفات التي ذكرها سبحانه وتعالى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Shaykh, he says, has promised both from both sexes, males and females. Allah has promised them forgiveness and has promised them a great reward for those who are upon the characteristics and the description that was aforementioned inside of the ayah. Now, that were aforementioned where? Inside of the ayah. So it is a must if we want to be good Muslims to adorn ourselves with the characteristics that are mentioned here in this ayah. That is for homework, Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 35. And then the Shaykh, he goes on in his tremendous advice, but bithnillahi ta'ala, so as to not go on too long and to put too much more homework upon your plate, نتوقف هنا, we will stop here. فنكتفي بهذا القدر, وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين, وجزاكم الله خيرا.